Live. Everybody hates when I do that, but I am going live. That's what it's saying right on the screen there. That's why I'm repeating it. And now it says I am live. This is Hannibal from the HannibalTV.com. 1:25 a.m. and I've actually been up since 5 a.m. And the Wrestling Observer has come through. I'm having an issue with my printer, so I'm going to read my notes off of my iPod here. So you'll have to forgive me. I'll get more ink for it by next week. I've had to print off a lot of stuff lately. Before I get started, I want to express my condolences once again to Billy Jack Haynes over the passing of Rip Oliver, Portland wrestling legend. Portland was a big wrestling territory, very popular. Roddy Piper was very well known there, as was Billy Jack Haynes, Playboy Buddy Rose, many others, the Cuban assassin Fidel Sierra, who I spoke to on the phone earlier today. And then I guess, according to Billy Jack Haynes, he was actually suffered a career-ending injury at the hands of the Ultimate Warrior doing an enhancement match in later years. But it's been a long, tough battle there for Rip. Billy Jack Haynes actually temporarily moved to Florida to take care of him. So he was a good friend of his to the end. And I actually posted on my Facebook, Devon Hannibal Nicholson, a few pictures of Rip Oliver in hospice care over the past few days with Billy Jack Haynes, as well as some of Rip's family. Negotiations are taking place with WWE and All Japan, which would be part of Triple H's plan to start an NXT Japan group. This could be a huge story within Japanese promotions because of the feeling that WWE running the country could greatly change the landscape. There's about 3,000 tickets left for WrestleMania in Tampa. Steve Austin, somebody that I like very much, along with some of his family members that I also like. Nothing but respect for him. He's going to be appearing on Raw 3/16, March 16th. So I'll have to watch his segment for sure. We'll see if Steve Austin has me on his podcast later this month when I'm in LA, by the way. He said it's a possibility. Jeff Hardy was cleared to return after knee surgery, should be back soon as a singles competitor in WWE. He has more time on his contract than Matt because Jeff's had a lot of injuries and other issues, and his contract was frozen due to those issues. Paige had emergency surgery this past week, according to Dave Meltzer, to remove an ovarian cyst, which is a fluid-filled sac in an ovary or on its surface. Hope nobody's eating. The February 28th SmackDown tapings in Boston had an almost full house of 11,250 fans. The Raw tapings this past Monday in Brooklyn only had 9,000 fans, which isn't considered great for the New York market in WrestleMania season. NXT was in Largo, Florida, in front of 300 fans, February 28th. 29th, they were in front of 400 fans. In Jacksonville, there was a Raw house show in State College, PA, that had 3,000 fans. SmackDown house show, February 29th, in Elmira, New York, drew 2,300 fans. And apparently The Fiend was heavily advertised for that one. Didn't show up. Fiend also didn't show up March 1st in Syracuse, New York. One of my biggest fans, Jeff, was at that show. He's very likely going to see this, and he is the one that told me The Fiend wasn't there and there was a lot of empty seats. On to AEW. It looks like Matt Hardy is probably going here, according to Dave Meltzer. His WWE contract has expired, and he's posted a video of him with the Young Bucks. Jake Roberts is 64. He made an appearance in AEW last night. I have a full career interview with Jake Roberts on this channel, by the way. there is a chance he could manage either Lance Archer or Brody Lee in AEW. I actually like this, bringing Jake Roberts into AEW. Let's hope that AEW only gets better. They've got Jake Roberts now as a mind, Arn Anderson, lots of good minds back there. Jim Ross. Let's hope that it's not just the executives. And I'm not saying the executives have done a bad job, but I hope that the executives take lots of advice from some of these older guys, because Jake Roberts is supposedly a booking genius. Now, Dave Meltzer says next week, Salt Lake City show, he doesn't expect to have that great of a house, but the March 18th Rochester show has already sold nearly 4,500 tickets. Brody Lee, who is from Rochester, also known as Luke Harper, is expected to debut there. Jeff Cobb is still not signed a contract with AEW. This past Wednesday's Dynamite had 3,342 fans in Broomfield, Colorado. The Maryland State Athletic Commission, let me just grab a sip of water here, has completed its investigation into the Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley Lights Out match from the Full Gear pay-per-view in Baltimore. The next step is to have the investigators vote on whether to impose sanctions or not, or there could be a behind-the-scenes settlement. Now, I actually do fully believe that there should be commissions regulating pro wrestling. People always say, oh, well, wrestling's fake. Why do you need a commission? There's a lot of underhanded stuff that goes on in the pro wrestling business, as far as promoters stiffing people on pay, for one thing, dangerous, hardcore matches for wrestlers that are being paid next to no money, and there often isn't even testing, more often than not. There really should be a governing body watching over wrestling, in my opinion. I mean, if there had been the Montreal screw job, there could have been sanctions on WWE, for instance, if there had been a Quebec commission at that time regulating wrestling, because obviously that would be something that would be against the rules of professional wrestling, changing a finish. But anyways, I'll get back to this in a second. Unfortunately, I didn't print out the paper this week. Wrestle One, a Japanese company, Rene Dupree has wrestled for recently, but I believe he's going to be wrestling for a new company in Japan very soon. Unfortunately, there's all this terrible stuff with the virus over there right now. A lot of shows getting canceled, but Wrestle One is being shut down, unfortunately. I know recently there was a big Wrestle One thing with Fight TV, some type of partnership, and I can tell you, in my experiences with Fight TV, they didn't pay me. They didn't pay me really at all, other than a few checks here and there. And according to them, there's still a check in the mail for me. And it's been a long time since I've talked to them. So I don't have much love for Fight that screws around with little people that let them use their content. Also, Impact Wrestling, I gave them some content for their channel. After 1 year, they paid me $14. And they said, do you have any more stuff? I sent them more stuff to test out to see how it would do, and I never received another check from them, and it's now been years later, so I never sent them anything else. But I do find that those are a weird way to operate. People give you content that costs them money to produce. You air it. You say you're going to pay people for the use of the content, and you don't. So I don't really like people that do that, because it's really hard operating your own YouTube channel. Ring of Honor ran February 28th in Nashville in front of 5,500 fans. And they had a very well-attended show, February 29th, in St. Charles, Missouri, before 1,000 fans. UFC in Norfolk, February 29th, had 7,098 fans and a $2,000, 358 gate. I'll answer a few of your questions. Ralph Vaquero, better than WWE. Been referring to AEW. Lots of RIPs here for Rip Oliver. Richard M says Stone Cold always credits me. Yes. And I actually have so much respect for him for crediting me because it doesn't take much to credit people. You know, some people have said, Hannibal, you're doing this Wrestling Observer news. Do you think Dave is going to be mad at you? Well, first of all, I only tell the stuff that I find interesting. But second of all, at least I'm crediting him. The whole thing is a Wrestling Observer review. A lot of sites just take his news and present it as their own. I'm telling you it's his news. And if you want more detailed version of his news, subscribe to the newsletter. It's not very much. Jake as a booker would be great. Carlos Morales says, Mario Alexander says WWE is a joke. Mario Alexander says I'm correct about the commissions, especially with barbed wire matches. Yes, barbed wire matches, I'll keep saying this because it's worth it if one independent wrestler honestly listens to this and doesn't do it. Here is why barbed wire matches are extremely dangerous. Okay? It's like sharing a needle. If you're thrown into the barbed wire, those spikes go into your skin. Then your opponent gets whipped into the barbed wire. The spikes that were in your skin are now in his skin, actually inside his body. So, yes, you can get blood tests, but as I said before, you could get them every 6 months, you could get them every year, but you really can never know when someone's going to be infected or not. So it's better to not do stuff like barbed wire matches. They're very dangerous. And I'm sure those AEW guys got paid a lot, but in general, on the indie scene, guys are not getting paid a lot for barbed wire matches. I am against them for that reason, for the contamination reason. Did I check out the Jake promo? PCW says, not yet. I have been really crazy busy. I've released one match from the Great North Wrestling Smith Falls event last weekend, Haku and Barbarian against Blood Hunter and Scorpio, which, by the way, it is Scorpio. I've had so many people, and it's crazy, act like it's not Scorpio. That is Scorpio. Okay, Scorpio is a personal friend of mine. There's no imposter Scorpio that we're trying to bill as Scorpio. That's absolute ridiculous, foolish talk. But yes, and the Barbarian full shoot, Haku full shoot, and Scorpio mini shoot is at patreon.com/the Hannibal TV. There's a lot more shoot interviews coming this month. C4P says, yeah, even Scorpio is written on his tights. And yeah, I've also released 2 promos of his too. So it's Scorpio, Blaze, and Blood Hunter seem to have formed an alliance in Great North Wrestling, and I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. There's big events coming up. Davey Boy Smith Jr. is coming to Great North Wrestling in August. Scorpio will be back for that. Former NWA World Champion, the almighty Sheik Joseph Semel, will make his Great North Wrestling debut. He's also a PCW Ultra wrestler, of course. And there's that big PCW Ultra event, March 27th, that I'm going to be covering for the Hannibal TV. Shane Douglas versus Blood Hunter. Jacob Fatu is going to be there. Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt, PCWUltra.com has more information, as well as the beautiful Victoria Vaughn, who is the leader of the War Beast. Her videos have been popular on this channel. The Real Frisco, does Scorpio still wrestle? I just finished saying that I posted his match from last week on this channel. So he was, not only does he still wrestle, but Scorpio and the Blood Hunter defeated the Faces of Fear, Haku and Barbarian, who won an award last year at the Cauliflower Alley for being a great team who should be in the WWE Hall of Fame and will be, but are not yet. So have a good night, everybody. I still have some other work to do before I go to bed. So thanks for all your lovely questions.